After their bus takes a shortcut on an unfamiliar road in the middle of nowhere, 5 teenage friends are haunted by something they've never seen before. Will anyone be able to make it out of this situation alive?
Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today we'll recap and review a horror film called The Shortcut. Let's check it out.
A red bus carrying 5 teenagers goes along the main road, far from the city. It looks like Nolan likes the girl sitting at the opposite end of the bus, Bess. The noisy kid, Carl, sits beside the smart girl, Queenie, and teases her. Reggie, who seems to be a rebellious kid, sits alone at the back. To pass the time, they play a little riddle game. Without even finishing the riddle, the smart girl answers Carl, embarrassing him. The friendly driver, Joseph, joins the game. He gives the teenagers a long riddle not found on the internet. Not one of them knows the answer. They come across a huge tree blocking the main road, making them unable to pass. However, instead of going back, the elderly man decides to reroute and takes a shortcut that is off the main road. While taking the new route, the bus stops again because a dead deer is lying in the middle of the road. The old bus driver gets off the bus and moves the deer by himself.
Shouldn't this be some sort of bad omen already? Why do these characters always insist on doing these things? Oh yeah, it's a horror film, that's why. Duh.
The deer is too heavy for the old man to pull alone, so he rests for a bit to catch his breath. Suddenly, someone points a gun at the back of his head. When he returns to the bus, Pedro, an escaped prisoner, threatens everyone with a gun. He takes control of the bus and orders everyone to do what he says. While everyone is being held hostage, Carl recalls the hijacker from his conversation with a police relative. The escaped criminal takes out his victim's tongue and eats it. The night arrives and they are still on the road. He forces the teenagers to throw their phones off the bus so they cannot call for help. Everyone is frightened by the psychotic prisoner, so they immediately cooperate, except for Reggie.
The teenagers really gotta stop being so stubborn in the face of someone who is obviously psychotic and has been in prison for grave offenses. It's really difficult to figure out what's happening inside this person's head.
Eventually, he surrenders his phone, shaking from fear after the prisoner threatens to fire the gun. At some point, Nolan signals to his friends that they should disarm the hostage taker, but Carl is too scared to help. A few minutes after entering a tunnel, the bus suddenly stops. It won't start, no matter how many times he tries. The criminal becomes paranoid and begins threatening to kill the bright girl if the old man doesn't fix the bus immediately. He examines the bus but cannot identify the source of the problem. Then suddenly, the tunnel lights went off and everything went black. With the help of the bus's headlights and a flashlight, the old man sees something moving in the distance. The criminal gives the bus driver orders to inspect the moving object, so he cautiously approaches it. When he gets close enough, it reveals itself as a mutated, huge creature. The terrified driver screams and gets bitten by the ferocious monster before he can escape. After witnessing what happened, the 5 teenagers and the criminal panicked. They are in a horrible situation, and to make matters even worse, they cannot start the bus because the driver has the keys. Nolan volunteers to retrieve the keys, but Bess suddenly goes out to get them. She cautiously walks towards the bus driver, who is no longer responsive. She cries after seeing what happened to the old man up close. Once she has the keys, she returns to the bus as quickly as possible. Pedro hands the keys to Reggie and forces him to start the bus while he points a gun at the kid. Still, the bus won't start at all, no matter how many times the teenager tries, making the criminal furious. Finally, after seeing an opportunity, Nolan manages to grab the criminal's hand, which enables Reggie to steal the gun. However, the monster suddenly jumps to the bus's roof, distracting the teenagers. The prisoner manages to steal back the weapon and then tries to hunt the unknown creature outside. The criminal fails to kill the beast hiding in the darkness. Instead, it sneaks up on him and attacks him, ending his life. After seeing the monster from the window holding the bloodied, lifeless criminal, everyone was terrified. The monster forces its way inside the bus to attempt to assault everyone. They clearly see a big monster with sharp nails, teeth, and long hair. By flashing it, they manage to escape the monster. Instead of finding an exit, the teenagers arrive at an old facility within the tunnel and rest there. They start chatting for a bit to ease the tension. After that, Nolan shows everyone the floor plan he found and suggests that they check the control room. Reggie and Queenie don't want to go, so Bess volunteers that she will accompany Nolan. The two set out to locate the main generator, hoping they could light up the huge underground facility. While waiting for the two to return, Queenie can no longer resist the urge to pee, so she asks if someone can escort her. Reggie accompanies the smart girl to find a location where she can relieve herself. The rebellious teenager gives her some privacy to pee. However, the creature manages to capture the girl.
Why would a girl need to pee somewhere dark and far away? Which is more unsafe? That was a really big mistake. She might be the smartest, but she's definitely not the wisest of the bunch.
He immediately rushes to Carl and asks for help finding their friend. They search the area while shouting her name, hoping they can find her. Suddenly, they hear someone scream. Following the voice, they find the monster biting the poor, terrified girl's neck on the ground. They use torches to drive the beast back and to save their weakened friend. Reggie distracts the violent monster so that his friends can escape. However, the monster sweeps the torch from his hand and tackles him. The monster quickly overpowers the teenager. Instead of fleeing, the noisy teen and wounded girl get back to save him from being eaten by the horrific monster. The terrified teenager can't help but scream as the monster is about to devour him when suddenly the facility lights turn on. Somehow, Nolan and Bess track down the power switch and get the power back on in time. The blood-sucking creature, who seems to be afraid of intense light, flees, which saves Reggie. The two teenagers find a hidden room full of documents about the monster hunting them. Eager to show their friends what they discovered, they find them, regroup safely, and return to the room to uncover more about the documents they found. All the documents belong to a man named Julio. In his diary, they found out that he was a curious young adventurer who lost his sister a long time ago to the creature. The incident haunted him for a long time, so he decided to confront it. He dedicated his whole life to tracking down the monster and getting revenge on his sister's behalf. Unfortunately, before the obsessed man could even begin his revenge, the creature had already tracked him down and ambushed him. The teenagers discovered his dead body in a dark corner of the room. Instead of finding a way to escape, they all agree that they must stay and finish the job that Julio started. They start reading the old man's documents to find a way to defeat the creature once and for all. The records confirmed the monster's nature. It is afraid of light and only lives in the darkness. They fix the old man's device that makes bright lights and devises a way to draw the creature to it. Nolan shuts down the power and proceeds with their plan. Everyone is in position, including Reggie, who uses himself as bait. The sound of the radio and the fresh blood attract the monster. However, in a very critical situation, Bess is unable to turn the power back on because the lever on the panel gets stuck.
Why do these things always happen at the most critical moment? Reggie has got to be reconsidering his life decisions that always make him the bait.
The monster gets closer to the teenager, who is using himself as bait to attract the monster's attention. But Nolan saves him by distracting the monster with his whistle and luring it away. Then they execute a backup plan and draw the monster to another room. This time, they turn on the light, weakening the monster for a moment. Carl tackles the monster, allowing both girls to run. Bess and Queenie trick the monster into pursuing them through the tunnel until they reach the opening that leads to the outside. It is already daytime, so the creature cannot escape the tunnel. They were able to trap the monster, so the guys who were shouting ran toward it and used the torches to burn the beast. They watch the monster scream in pain until it finally falls to the ground. Following that, the adolescents seek assistance in the town closest to them. Because of the incident, they realized the answer to the bus driver's riddle was courage. It was the main reason they were able to work together and survive the horrific encounter with the monster. At first, not a single person believed their story, but it did not bother them. Law enforcement officers arrive at the tunnel to investigate the teen's story. One of the detectives enters the dark tunnel with a flashlight. He hears the creature's noise coming from different directions. In the final scene, the monster appears behind the detectives in the final scene as the screen goes black.
Even though the beginning of this film is a little bit dull, and the storyline is maybe a bit common, there are just enough scary and nasty moments to keep us watching. It takes us back to the old days of horror, where the scares are teased out, not shouted. It's the ideal drive-in fare. This scary movie will be great for the whole family, especially if you've got little kids. It's just enough to give them a little bit of a scare and make this a memorable movie from their childhood. Please subscribe to our channel to be notified when we upload, and don't forget to suggest movies that you want us to recap in the future in the comments down below.